Attraction between two people is not just a physical or emotional phenomenon. It is, above all, an exchange of energy that happens on a much deeper level than most people realize. According to Bob Proctor, one of the greatest experts in personal development and the law of attraction, our thoughts, emotions, and beliefs shape the reality around us, including the way we interact with others and how we attract or repel people. The energy you emit directly influences how others respond to you, even if they are not consciously aware of it. However, this connection does not always develop in a smooth and straightforward way. Sometimes a man may feel intense attraction, but for internal or external reasons tries to resist it. What happens in this case? His subconscious mind enters a state of conflict, sending mixed signals. His body language, behavior, and even the way he communicates start to reveal this internal struggle. It is essential to understand that this resistance can arise for different reasons. Some men fear emotional vulnerability, so they avoid deep, romantic connections. Others might already be emotionally involved in another relationship and try to deny their feelings to avoid complications. There are also those who, due to insecurity or limiting beliefs, do not allow themselves to embrace what they feel because they believe they are not good enough, or that the person they are attracted to is out of their reach. The key thing to remember is that attraction energy cannot simply be turned off. Even if a man tries to fight what he feels, his body and actions will inevitably reveal the truth. His rational mind may attempt to ignore the desire, but his subconscious will always find ways to express it. Small gestures, changes in behavior, and unexpected reactions can be clear signs that he is struggling against the attraction. Bob Proctor explained that the subconscious mind responds to the vibrational frequency of our emotions and intentions. This means that if someone feels a strong attraction but tries to suppress it, that energy does not disappear. It simply manifests in different ways. This can result in sudden distancing, frequent teasing, subtle shifts in posture, or even moments of irritation without any apparent reason. Many women wonder, if he feels attracted to me, why doesn't he show it clearly? The answer lies in the fact that the human mind operates through deeply ingrained emotional patterns. If a man has learned throughout his life that expressing feelings makes him vulnerable, he will unconsciously avoid demonstrating what he feels, even though his energy communicates otherwise. Another factor that may cause a man to resist attraction is fear of the unknown. When a connection arises in an intense and unexpected way, it can shake the emotional foundation of someone who is not prepared to deal with such strong feelings. In these cases, the mind tries to find reasons to deny the attraction, while the subconscious continues to send signals that something deeper is happening. Resisting attraction does not necessarily mean he is not interested, quite the opposite. The mere fact that there is an effort to suppress the feeling already shows that a strong connection is happening beneath the surface. Often, this resistance comes with contradictory behaviors. Sometimes he gets closer, sometimes he pulls away, sometimes he shows interest, and other times he seems cold and distant. These oscillations are the result of the conflict between his inner desire and the mental barriers he has created. When a man tries to resist attraction, he may unknowingly create situations where he tests the other person. This can manifest through teasing, playful banter, or even subtle challenges in the interaction. His subconscious wants to confirm whether the connection is real while simultaneously trying to maintain control over his emotions. But here's the truth: what resists persists. The more someone tries to ignore or suppress a feeling, the stronger it becomes inside them. Bob Proctor always reinforced this idea, explaining that whatever we mentally try to avoid ends up gaining more power because unconsciously we are focusing our energy on that very thought or emotion. Now that you understand how resistance to attraction works, it's time to learn how to identify the clear signs that indicate a man is trying to fight what he feels. In the next sections, we will reveal the 6 most common signs that he is resisting attraction for you. If you have noticed confusing behaviors and contradictory attitudes from someone, he may be experiencing an intense internal conflict between what he feels and what he is trying to suppress. Pay attention to these signs because they can reveal much more than words. Understanding what is happening inside his mind will give you clarity about the dynamics of the relationship and help you make more conscious decisions about how to respond to the situation. When a man feels a strong attraction to someone but tries to resist it, his behavior inevitably starts revealing signs of this internal conflict. He may not verbalize what is happening inside his mind, but his body language, actions, and even contradictions will expose the truth. One of the clearest indicators that he is trying to fight this attraction is when he distances himself only to return later, creating a pattern of pushing away and coming back. This cycle does not happen randomly. It is a direct response to what Bob Proctor often described as the subconscious mind trying to protect itself from something it perceives as unfamiliar or potentially disruptive. When a man experiences intense and unexpected emotions, especially when he is not emotionally prepared to handle them, his instinct may be to retreat. He may stop texting as often, avoid opportunities to interact, or suddenly become distant and cold, as if trying to build a barrier between the two of you. But what makes this behavior a clear sign of resistance is the fact that after some time, he finds himself coming back. Something inside him pulls him toward you again, and no matter how much he tries to keep his distance, there are moments when he cannot suppress the connection and ends up reaching out again, sometimes even with more intensity than before. This push and pull dynamic is not a coincidence. It is a manifestation of the struggle between what he feels and what he believes he should do. The human mind seeks equilibrium, and when a man feels an attraction that disrupts his internal balance, he may try to rationalize his emotions in different ways. One of the most common ways this manifests is in how he treats the person he is drawn to compared to everyone else. If he is naturally outgoing and talkative, he might suddenly seem more serious and reserved when interacting with you. If he is usually indifferent, he may become unusually attentive, noticing details he would typically ignore. This happens because his mind is subconsciously searching for a way to manage what he feels without exposing his vulnerability. This behavior often translates into nervousness. He may avoid prolonged eye contact, fidget with objects in his hands, shift his posture frequently, or appear more restless than usual in your presence. This nervous energy does not emerge out of nowhere. It is a direct reflection of the discomfort his mind feels while trying to resist something that is undeniably present. What is even more interesting is that often he is not even aware that he is acting this way. His subconscious mind is engaged in an ongoing battle between suppressing the attraction and at the same time involuntarily expressing it. Another behavior that signals he is struggling against his attraction is when he begins to subtly test your reactions. This can surface in the form of frequent teasing, playful provocations, or even challenging you during conversations. He may make sarcastic comments just to see how you respond, or he may deliberately challenge your opinions in an attempt to create a dynamic where he remains in control. At first glance, this kind of behavior might seem like simple competitiveness or playful banter, but in reality, it is his subconscious way of maintaining a connection without having to openly admit what he is feeling. Bob Proctor often emphasized that attraction is an energetic force between two people, and when someone tries to suppress this energy, it finds alternate ways to express itself. The need to test, challenge, or provoke subtly is one of those manifestations. Sometimes he may be attempting to determine whether what he feels is genuine or merely an illusion, and the only way he knows how to explore this without exposing himself is by creating moments of confrontation and observing your reactions. If you start noticing that a man exhibits contradictory behaviors around you, if he distances himself without any apparent reason only to reappear later, if he treats you differently than he does anyone else in his social circle, and if he constantly seems to be testing your reactions, there is a high probability that he is resisting an attraction that has already taken hold of his subconscious mind. This kind of resistance does not happen without cause, and in most cases it is not even a conscious decision. He may have internal reasons for not wanting to accept what he feels, but his energy and his actions will always find a way to reveal the truth. Now that you are familiar with some of the subtler signs of resisting attraction, in the next section we will delve even deeper into this dynamic, uncovering additional behaviors that indicate he is struggling against the desire he feels for you. Attraction is one of the most powerful forces that influence human behavior, and when a man tries to resist it, his subconscious mind begins to work in ways that even he might not fully understand. The internal battle between desire and self-control can lead to reactions that seem confusing or contradictory, but in reality, they are clear signs of what is truly happening beneath the surface. A common manifestation of this resistance is when a man seems to pay excessive attention to your presence, while simultaneously acting as if you are not important to him. It is as if his mind is trying to convince him that he is in control, but his body and subconscious continue to betray him through small, seemingly insignificant actions that reveal much more than words ever could. You may notice that he is aware of your every move, even when he pretends not to be paying attention. He might glance in your direction more often than necessary. His body may instinctively turn toward you in group settings, or he may react subtly when you interact with other people, even though he gives the impression that it does not affect him. His eyes may follow you across a room, or he may position himself in places where he can observe you without making it too obvious. These small behaviors are not random. They are evidence of an internal struggle between what he feels and what he wants to deny. Another indication that he is resisting attraction is when his emotional responses toward you are exaggerated or inconsistent. Sometimes he may seem overly enthusiastic and engaged, while at other moments he appears detached or indifferent. This fluctuation in attitude is a direct result of the subconscious mind trying to regain control over emotions that it perceives as overwhelming. It is as if he is constantly switching between allowing himself to feel something and forcing himself to suppress it. If you notice that his mood changes significantly depending on your interactions, this is a strong indication that he is struggling with an attraction he does not want to fully acknowledge. He may act indifferent one day, only to become more engaged and responsive the next, without any clear explanation. These shifts are not coincidental. They are an attempt to balance the pull he feels toward you with his own internal barriers. Resistance to attraction can also manifest through increased tension in interactions. You may feel that conversations with him, even about casual topics, have an underlying intensity. There might be a certain electricity in the air when you are together, a feeling that something unspoken is happening beneath the surface. He may challenge you more in discussions, engage in playful arguments, or tease you in ways that create a dynamic of tension and release. This is because his subconscious is looking for ways to channel the emotions he is trying to suppress. Instead of openly admitting his feelings, he may test boundaries or create moments of challenge to maintain a sense of control over the situation. These behaviors are often mistaken for disinterest or arrogance, but in reality, they are indicators that he is battling his own emotions. The stronger the attraction, the more intense this subconscious need to maintain control can become. It is also common for a man who is resisting attraction to create unnecessary emotional distance, even when it is clear that there is a connection between you. He may deliberately withhold certain details about his personal life, avoid deep conversations, or be reluctant to open up about his feelings and thoughts. This kind of behavior is not necessarily a sign that he is uninterested. It is often a defense mechanism that allows him to feel like he still has the upper hand in the situation. Emotional vulnerability can be unsettling, especially for someone who has built walls to protect himself from deeper connections. The paradox is that, despite his attempts to remain emotionally guarded, his body language and subtle actions continue to reveal his true emotions. Understanding these behaviors can provide valuable insight into what is happening in his mind. Attraction, especially when it is unexpected or intense, can trigger deep-seated fears and cause someone to act in ways that seem irrational from the outside. Bob Proctor emphasized that the energy we emit influences how others respond to us. And when someone tries to resist a connection, that energy does not simply disappear, it finds other ways to manifest. His subconscious mind is reacting to the magnetic pull he feels toward you, even if his conscious mind is trying to deny it. If you notice that he exhibits these patterns, it is a strong indication that he is experiencing a level of attraction that he is not yet willing to embrace. Now that you recognize these additional signs of resistance, it becomes easier to navigate the dynamic and understand the real reasons behind his behavior. He is not acting this way without cause. His subconscious is in conflict with what his emotions are making undeniable. In the next section, we will explore even more behaviors that indicate when a man is trying to resist the attraction he feels for you, helping you gain an even deeper understanding of how to interpret his actions and what they truly mean. Attraction is a force that moves beyond logic, and when a man tries to resist it, his subconscious finds ways to express what he is attempting to suppress. Even when he believes he is in control of his emotions, small details in his behavior begin to reveal the truth. One of the clearest signs of this internal struggle is when he displays contradictory body language. The way someone moves, positions themselves, and reacts physically to another person speaks volumes about their true emotions, often much more than words. A man who is trying to resist attraction may, at times, seem to create physical distance, crossing his arms, avoiding prolonged eye contact, or even keeping his body slightly turned away when talking to you. However, when he is not thinking about controlling his reactions, his subconscious mind naturally gravitates toward you. You may notice that in moments when he is engaged or distracted, he unconsciously leans in closer, mimics your movements, or finds reasons to make physical contact, even in subtle ways. He may adjust his watch, fix his shirt, or touch his face more frequently when he is around you, as if his body is reacting to an internal tension he cannot fully control. This push and pull in his body language is a reflection of the conflict between his emotions and his attempt to suppress them. Another revealing sign is how he reacts when other people mention you. If he is resisting his attraction to you, he may try to downplay his interest when someone brings up your name, acting indifferent or giving short, dismissive responses. However, his energy in those moments will betray him. Even if his words seem neutral, his tone, facial expressions, and micro-reactions will tell another story. He might quickly change the subject, become unusually serious, or even make unnecessary comments to redirect attention away from himself. On the other hand, some men, when resisting attraction, might overcompensate by making small, critical remarks about you. This is not because he truly feels negatively about you, but rather because his subconscious is trying to create an emotional barrier to maintain control over his feelings. This kind of reaction is common when someone is struggling with emotions they do not fully understand or do not want to accept. The need to resist attraction can sometimes cause a man to create artificial distance through words, even when his energy continues to show the opposite. It is also common for a man resisting attraction to behave differently in group settings versus one-on-one interactions. When surrounded by other people, He may feel more secure in his ability to control his emotions and therefore act more detached or indifferent toward you. However, in moments when it is just the two of you, he might drop those defenses without even realizing it. He may become more engaged in conversation, laugh more easily, or seem genuinely interested in what you have to say. This contrast in behavior can be an indication that, while he may be attempting to maintain control in public, in private moments, his attraction becomes harder to suppress. If you pay close attention, you will see that his interactions with you carry a different energy compared to how he treats others, even if he tries to act as if he does not care. Another way his resistance to attraction might manifest is through an unusual amount of curiosity about your life. Even if he tries to hide it, he might subtly ask about your interests, relationships, or thoughts on different topics, sometimes disguising his curiosity under the pretense of casual conversation. He may notice details that most people overlook or remember things you said in passing, even if he pretends that it was not important to him. This is because, despite his efforts to maintain emotional distance, his mind is naturally drawn to you, causing him to pay attention even when he does not intend to. At times, he may even bring up things he has observed about you without realizing he is doing it, exposing the fact that he has been paying far more attention than he wants to admit. When a man is experiencing this level of internal conflict, the subconscious mind finds ways to reveal the truth, no matter how much he tries to resist. Even the way he responds when you pull back slightly can be a strong indicator of his true emotions. If you create a little distance, whether by being less available or not initiating conversations as often, and he suddenly begins making more of an effort to reach out, it means he is feeling the effects of the connection more than he lets on. This response happens because when he senses that your energy is not as present as before, his subconscious reacts to the potential loss, making it clear that despite his resistance, the attraction remains strong. Understanding these signals allows you to see beyond his words and actions, to recognize what is truly happening beneath the surface. Attraction, when resisted, does not disappear. It transforms into patterns of behavior that expose the very feelings someone is trying to suppress. The more intense the attraction, the more visible these subconscious patterns become. Now that you are aware of even more signs of a man resisting his attraction, in the next section, we will explore deeper behaviors that indicate how his subconscious is revealing what his conscious mind refuses to accept. Nothing reveals the truth more than contradictions in behavior. A man who is genuinely uninterested will remain consistent in his actions, keeping an emotional distance that does not fluctuate. But when attraction exists, yet he is actively resisting it, his interactions become unpredictable. The inconsistency is not by chance. It is a direct reflection of his subconscious battling his conscious mind. This conflict often results in shifts between moments of warmth and moments of detachment. He may engage in deep conversation one day, showing enthusiasm and attentiveness, only to become distant and emotionally unavailable the next. The cycle repeats itself because the attraction does not fade. It only surfaces in different ways, depending on whether he is allowing himself to feel it or trying to suppress it. When his emotions start to break through, he pulls back in an attempt to regain control, but sooner or later, the subconscious draws him in again. Reactions to external stimuli also provide undeniable proof of this inner turmoil. If he notices you interacting with someone else, especially in a way that suggests chemistry, his response may not align with the indifference he tries to project. Even if he does not say anything outright, subtle shifts in body language or a change in mood will betray his true emotions. His posture may become more rigid, his facial expression may momentarily tighten, or he may suddenly become preoccupied with something else, as if attempting to distract himself from what he is witnessing. Some men, when feeling particularly challenged by their emotions, will respond by inserting themselves into the conversation, making playful but competitive remarks, or subtly directing attention back to themselves. Others may withdraw completely, distancing themselves as a subconscious defense mechanism. These responses are not random. They stem from an unresolved attraction that his rational mind is struggling to ignore. Tension in interactions serves as another indicator of this resistance. If a man feels a deep attraction but is not allowing himself to embrace it, even casual conversations will carry an underlying intensity. Exchanges that should be simple may feel charged with unspoken energy, as if something is being held back, but still pushing to the surface. He may challenge you more often, react strongly to small remarks, or engage in playful debates that keep the dynamic between you alive. This tension is not a sign of disinterest, but rather an attempt to maintain control over a situation that feels beyond his grasp. Bob Proctor often spoke about how unacknowledged emotions do not simply disappear, they manifest in different ways, often through behaviors that seem unrelated at first. If you notice a pattern where his words do not match his energy, where interactions feel heavier than they should, or where he seeks out opportunities to engage with you while simultaneously keeping a barrier up, these are clear signs that attraction is at play. Shifts in emotional availability can further confirm this resistance. When a man who is resisting attraction lets his guard down, even briefly, he may reveal a side of himself that feels more open, more connected. Perhaps he shares a personal thought or engages in a deeper conversation than usual, showing a glimpse of vulnerability. But as soon as he realizes he has done so, he quickly retreats, putting up his emotional walls again. This back-and-forth dynamic is common when the subconscious is in conflict with the conscious mind. He may create moments of closeness only to immediately step away, as if resetting the boundaries he is trying to maintain. The unpredictability of his engagement is not due to a lack of interest, but rather a fear of what allowing himself to feel might mean. If he has been conditioned to avoid vulnerability, the experience of genuine attraction can feel overwhelming, leading to a cycle of temporary surrender followed by retreat. Even physical cues, often unnoticed by the person displaying them, can reveal what words attempt to hide. If he consistently finds reasons to be near you, if his body turns toward you even when he is speaking to others, or if he mimics your gestures without realizing it, these are subconscious indicators that attraction is present. Attempts to resist often result in heightened self-awareness, making movements more deliberate and controlled. Yet certain reactions, like instinctively leaning in or unconsciously mirroring behaviors, cannot be fully suppressed. Bob Proctor's teachings emphasized that energy never lies, and when someone is drawn to another person, that connection is expressed in ways beyond conscious control. Understanding these behaviors provides clarity in navigating interactions that seem confusing on the surface. When attraction is resisted, it does not diminish. It intensifies in ways that manifest through actions, emotions, and patterns of engagement. If his behavior follows this cycle of inconsistency, if his reactions contradict his words, if the energy between you is unmistakable, despite his efforts to contain it, then the attraction he is resisting is far stronger than he would ever openly admit. In the final section, we will explore how these subconscious battles resolve themselves, what ultimately breaks the resistance, and how this emotional push and pull dynamic reaches its inevitable conclusion. The deeper the attraction, the harder it is to resist. A man may convince himself that he is in control, that his emotions are his to suppress, but the truth always finds a way to surface. No matter how much he attempts to rationalize, distract, or distance himself, energy cannot be ignored. Attraction does not fade because it is inconvenient. On the contrary, the more it is pushed away, the stronger its pull becomes. The subconscious mind does not forget what it feels, nor does it allow unspoken emotions to remain buried indefinitely. The body speaks, the eyes linger, the interactions carry weight, and whether he realizes it or not, his resistance is only delaying the inevitable. The signs have been there all along, woven into the smallest details of his behavior, revealing what his words refuse to confirm. When someone is genuinely indifferent, their actions are consistent, but when someone is resisting an undeniable pull, their actions become erratic, caught between moments of surrender and retreat. A man who has spent weeks, months, or even years attempting to resist an attraction will eventually find himself at a crossroads. Suppressing emotions takes effort, and over time, that effort becomes exhausting. His subconscious will continue pushing against the barriers he has constructed, finding cracks in the walls he has built around himself. At first, this resistance may have seemed like a manageable challenge, a matter of self-discipline, logic, or even personal circumstance. But attraction is not a battle meant to be won. It is a force that demands acknowledgement, even from those who are determined to deny it. The longer he fights against it, the more undeniable it becomes, until finally he reaches the moment where suppression is no longer an option. The resolution of this internal conflict does not always unfold in a dramatic revelation. Sometimes it happens quietly, in the stillness of a moment where he no longer has the energy to pretend. It may come in a glance that lasts a second too long, in a touch that lingers without explanation, in the way his presence shifts from avoidance to something softer, something less controlled. He may not even fully understand it himself, but he will feel it, an acceptance, a release, an acknowledgement of something he has known all along. Whether he voices it or not, there will be a shift, a recognition that the emotions he tried so hard to bury have never left him. The resistance, once so firm, will begin to unravel, not because he made a conscious choice to let go, but because his subconscious has already decided for him. Bob Proctor often spoke about how energy flows where attention goes, and in matters of attraction, this is especially true. The more someone focuses on avoiding a connection, the more energy they give it. Every effort to suppress, every moment spent questioning, every instance of withdrawal followed by return, it all feeds into the very thing they are trying to escape. What resists, persists, and by resisting, they unknowingly reinforce the bond that already exists. If a man has been caught in this cycle of denial, the final stage is not necessarily a bold confession or an immediate change in behavior. Instead, it is an internal shift, a moment where the effort to suppress is outweighed by the need to simply feel. When resistance fades, the connection is no longer something to battle against. It is something to acknowledge, whether openly or in the quiet recognition that pretending no longer serves him. For the one observing all of this unfold, the question remains, what now? If you have seen the signs, if you have recognized the resistance for what it is, then you already understand that this has never been about disinterest. It has always been about fear, about control, about an internal struggle between logic and emotion. Attraction does not demand action, but it does invite awareness. Knowing what is happening beneath the surface allows you to navigate the dynamic with clarity, to decide whether patience is warranted or whether the resistance itself is a sign that this is not something he is prepared to embrace. Not every battle against attraction ends with surrender. Some men will continue to resist indefinitely, unable or unwilling to break through the walls they have built. But for others, the battle was never meant to last forever. Eventually, something shifts, something gives, and when it does, the truth that was always present finally has space to be seen. Attraction is an energy exchange, a force that does not wait for permission to exist. The more someone fights against it, the more obvious it becomes, and the moment they stop fighting, everything that was once unclear suddenly makes sense. If he has been resisting, it is not because he does not feel, it is because he feels too much. And when that resistance finally fades, all that remains is the raw, undeniable truth that has been there all along.